Welcome to another Reneau Jyoshi Karate video presentation. Today we're going to be covering Street Smart Karate for women. My name's Jim Reneau and I've been in martial arts a little over 30 years, and I want to take and bring my experience and combine it with a gentleman that I have just found to have more knowledge on the law enforcement side of anyone I've ever encountered. The gentleman's Gary Barnes. He had over 30 years experience as a police officer and was one of the founding members of the Sex Crimes Division in Atlanta. When he retired as a detective for them, he had handled more cases than virtually anyone in the United States. I think you'll find his presentation to be extremely interesting. Keep in mind that we are covering adult situations and adult subjects. So if you have children with you, I encourage you to watch it. I had my daughter in her room at 11 years old. But be there to answer any questions they may have. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
I'm big, not just in rape prevention. Ladies, I'm big in just crime prevention. And one of the things that I found in life, be aware of your surroundings. Now what we want to do is give you some tips here, some ideas, things that you can do and take with you that should not alter your lifestyle. I don't want you to be so miserable that, you know, you're paranoid, you're scared to walk around, you know, there's a bad person behind every building, and that's not the way life is. But some general things that you can do that I think will minimize your chances of becoming a victim, not just a rape victim, a crime victim. I'd like to bring to your attention, how many of you, when you gas up a vehicle, and if you decide not to pay at the pump, you just walk into the convenience store. You don't think anything about it. You just walk in and you throw your money down and you walk out. Probably most of you. I would suggest that before you go into any convenience store, any gas station, any liquor store, take that 5 seconds to take a peek into the building. Look through the glass. You do not want to walk in on a robbery. You don't want to do that, and you might lose more than your money, because that's how a lot of women are raped. They'll walk in on a situation, and we call it a very aggressive criminal. And the criminal will look around and realize that there's nobody there but you, maybe the convenience store operator. The opportunity to rape presents itself, and they simply steal sex as part of the plunder. So you can avoid that by simply taking a couple of seconds to know where you're at, and you look into that building before you step inside. All right, I would also suggest that when you eat in a restaurant, a Burger King or whatever, how many of you people, when you go to McDonald's, Applebee's or whatnot, you pay no attention to where you sit? Just wherever the waitress sits you, that's fine with you. Most of you possibly fall in that category. I never eat in a restaurant there I cannot watch the front door or the restaurant, or the front door or the cash register, because I don't want to be sitting there and there's a robbery going down and I don't know anything about it. Now, I'm retired now, and although I have a right to, and I do carry a firearm with me at all times, if I'm in a restaurant and they're robbing it, they can go ahead and rob it. I'm not going to risk my life or my wife's life to get interfered with it. But I want to know what's going down, and let that hold-up man start firing shots, or I think he's going to take someone else's life, or he starts heading toward other customers. Yes, at that point, I want to know what's happening, and I want to be able to intervene. In your case, if you don't have a firearm in it, you might just want to be able to get out the back door if you know something like that's coming on, or just get down on the floor. So whenever possible, try to sit where you can watch the front door and you can watch the cash register. You're going to simply minimize the opportunity to you being a victim. All right. I'm big, too, on listening to your sixth sense. I really believe in that very strongly. Talk to a lot of women who are raped, and they'll tell you ahead of time, I didn't feel comfortable. Did not feel comfortable going there or going out with this person or driving in that area, but I did it anyway. And it backfired on them. Use your sixth sense. It's almost an animal instinct, and I believe in it. If you don't feel comfortable, don't go there or don't do it. Now, here's another thing. I hope no one here does drugs, illegal drugs. But if you do, you better be very careful. I couldn't begin to tell you how many cases we've had where a bad drug deal goes down And that starts the chain of events that lead to a woman being robbed or to being raped. And some of the big publicity cases that we've had in Atlanta that some of you have seen on our local television screen or heard on the radio, and they'll talk about the girl that was going to her prom and she was raped in that. Well, we don't tell everything involved in the situation, but I'll tell you personally what happened. It was a bad drug deal that went down. On the way to the prom, they stopped to get their crack cocaine or their marijuana or whatnot, and they forgot that this is not North Lake Mall, not Gwinnett Mall. The customer's not always right. When they thought they were getting crack and it was really some ivory soap shavings, then the people will bow up, and instead of giving their money back and saying, I'm sorry, let me really give you the real drugs, they put a shotgun on them or whatnot, rob the young man, and rape the girl. Drugs will start the chain of events that will lead to a woman being robbed or raped many times. Stay out of those areas. All right, how many of you still date now? Yeah, you date, you go out, and you should. Well, I've got a couple little tips for you. Atlanta has become an international city, particularly since the Olympics. We're having a huge influx of immigrants. And it can be a wonderful thing to date someone from another country or another culture. Ladies, I just simply suggest to you, if you date someone from a third world country, take the time to investigate their culture. Because it is possible that they will not view you as you want to be viewed as an American female. Now, I give an example of a young man that we arrested from one of the third world countries. And I'll never forget talking to the young man. It was a date rape situation. Talking to him, he was very honest. He could not understand why we were there, why we were arresting him. And he said, quote, because I asked him, I said, but didn't she say no? Well, yeah, she said no. Said she didn't want to have sex with me. But you did it anyway. Yeah, she's just a woman. What does it matter what she wants? So stop and think about it, and that happens fairly often. So before you date someone from a third world country, do yourself a favor and learn a little something about their culture. You want to try to assure yourself that you're going to be treated in the manner that you feel that you should be. When you date someone the first time, I would suggest that you let someone know that you're going out with them. And I would let the date know. You know, I've told my best friend that I'm going out with John Doe tonight, and John's taking me to the Brave game. I think that's a good idea. Let somebody know who you're going out with and where you're going. Another thing is, be very careful on trying any drinks. Any new drinks. Don't let a stranger encourage you to try a new alcoholic drink. And if you go to a bar with someone, I would be very leery of accepting any drink that I was not 100% sure the bartender mixed. Because this date rape drug thing is becoming a bigger problem even than when I retired 3 years ago. As long as I can remember, we've talked about things that when you're home, use deadbolt locks and etc. Go around, check your locks in your house, and that's good. Deadbolt locks are good. Now we have alarm systems. Those are great. I'm all for that. Whatever system you want to use, any lock system, even the poorest system, use it. I remember up on Roswell Road, we had a young lady, and what she simply did is she was waiting up for her boyfriend, Mike. Well, Mike didn't show up, so she put a note on the front door. Mike, darling, honey, sweetheart, lover. Couldn't stay awake any longer, darling. I left the front door open. Come on in. Well, she was awakened early in the morning by a man who got in bed and had sex with her. Now, she's kind of in that twilight thing, etc., and before she knows it, it's over and done with. The rapist simply gets up and says, I'm not Mike. Next time, lock your door. Just something that simple. If she'd have locked her door, he wouldn't have come in. What good is any lock if you don't use it? Okay. All right. Now here's something that a lot of you may not have thought of. In fact, I brought a audio tape if anybody's interested in hearing it after the class here. If someone was to break into your house or you thought there was a prowler, you're going to what? Dial maybe 911 for the police. Even if you cannot stay on the line, lay the phone down. Or hang the phone up if you have to, because that's called a hang-up call, and the police will come. Now, the particular tape I have, the lady called 911, laid the phone over next to her bed, and we have it right on tape, this man raping her. Took the police 3 minutes to get there. It seems like a short time, but it's not while you're being raped. But we had the whole thing on tape. Because it's done by computer, we'll know exactly where to come, and the police will come. They have to come. That's SOP. They're going to come to your home. Even if you say nothing, it's called a hang-up call. So simply dial 911. Might keep you from being a victim. Do not be embarrassed to ask for identification. We had a fellow at one time going around posing as one of our power people. Georgia Power it was. He was a power man. Nobody would ever ask for his identification. He had on work overalls. Every woman told us they were embarrassed. They didn't want to ask this man for his identification. Well, you ask. Even if I was there as a police officer with the radio and the gun and the whole shot, every so often a woman would ask for my identification, and it never offended me. I always had it to prove exactly who I was. You do the same thing. Look outside to make sure that they're in an actual gas company vehicle or a Georgia Power company vehicle or Jackson EMC vehicle. If they're on legitimate business, they'll have the identification, they'll be driving the right kind of vehicle, and you don't have to apologize to them for asking to see that identification. You might even, if you feel that uneasy about it, you could call the company and they'll confirm that that person should be there. Be careful who you let into your home. Now, automobile failure. Any of you ladies ever have a car break down on you, one that wouldn't start or a flat tire? Yeah. Sucks, doesn't it? I mean, that's it. It absolutely does. Well, cars have become much more dependable than they were 20 years ago. And I would suggest to you this, and this is important. I remember a bank executive, one of the high rank. This woman probably made $250,000 a year, and this was 10 years ago when that was an enormous amount of money. Still a lot of money for me, too. But she was embarrassed because she had a flat tire out on I-75, did not know how to change it, and along came happy rapists to help her. And she was embarrassed about that because here's a woman who could do these multi-million-dollar deals and that, but she didn't know how to change a flat tire. Ladies, learn how to change a flat tire. And if you don't want to maintain your vehicles, and they're much, oh man, they run forever now, much more so than they did 25, 30 years ago. But at least know the maintenance schedule, take them to a competent garage, let them change the oil for you, the coolant, check the belts, have that timing belt changed every 50 or 60 or 70,000 miles, whatever the manufacturer recommends. Rotate those tires. Learn to check yourself to make sure your tires are in good shape. Because I'll guarantee you, I can't stress strong enough, I talked to many of my peers, and this was a common thing. Automobile failure will be the beginning that start the whole chain of events that will lead to a woman being assaulted or to being raped. So if you don't want to do it yourself, that's fine. You find you a competent garage, let them take care of it for you. You know, another thing too, cell phones are cheap now. Get a cell phone. Get a road service plan. AAA, whoever you feel comfortable with. Carry a cell phone with you. That way, if your vehicle does break down, you can call somebody. You don't have to depend on that stranger out there to help you. We had a fellow in Atlanta, and I guess there's been several of them, called the blue light rapist. In the state of Georgia, law enforcement will have blue lights. So it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and here comes somebody up behind him with a blue light. The lady will pull over, and it's not a law enforcement officer. Turns out to be a rapist. If you feel uncomfortable, anybody idea what you would do? You know, you're just uncomfortable. This doesn't seem right to you. Let me give you a couple ideas. I turn on the dome light so that if it is a police officer, they'll be able to look into your car and see that you're not you know, you're not going to pull a weapon or whatnot. Keep your hands up on the steering wheel, 10 and 2. Get down to a safe rate of speed and drive to a well-lit or populated area. Now, unless that officer's just an absolute idiot, and I know occasionally we had a few, but I'm very proud of the ones that I worked with. They're not going to be upset with you, particularly when you explain what you did. But do turn on the dome light, because police officers are very leery, you know, in looking inside a dark car. They don't know what's going on. You're reaching under the seat, pulling a gun or whatnot. You might even wave to acknowledge. Let them know, I know you're back there, you know, and drive to a well-lit area, etc. And that way, if it is someone who's not a law enforcement officer, what are they going to do? They're going to leave you alone. They're going to boogie. Again, use your sixth sense. If it just doesn't seem right, you take care of yourself. You are responsible for your own protection, nobody else. It's up to you to protect yourself. You know, one of the things that I talk with people, people say, well, officer, you say don't go into a drug area or whatnot. This is America. I have a right to go anywhere I want to. If you were doing your job, you'd be safe. I'm going to tell you something. It's an honest to goodness truth. I remember one time in Atlanta, we got a memorandum out, and in one of the particular areas it was so dangerous, we were told not to go without SWAT, and to only go if we took SWAT with us and we were called. Now, I carried 2 guns with me all the time, and when I would get to a call, there'd usually be at least 1 uniform officer. Now, that's how dangerous it can be. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's an absolute fact. So if you want to drive there, in some of these areas that we talked about earlier, where they do the drugs and that, certainly you have a right to go there, but you are putting your lives in danger to do so. So stop and think about it. Take control of your life. I'd also like to talk to something here about fighting back. I've watched Oprah Winfrey and the Sally Jesse show and Jenny Jones and whatnot, and they'll have someone on there that's going to tell you what you do if a rapist attacks you. And if you do A, B, and C, you'll be okay. No one can guarantee you what a fool's going to do. There's several different types of rapists out there. I talk about one fellow that when you fought with him, this fool it just excited him. It just, oh man, it just got into him. He became that much more aggressive, and he would beat the woman like a yard dog. Other rapists, when you fight back, that's not part of their fantasy. Well, you're not supposed to fight back. We had a serial rapist in Atlanta, and what he was doing is getting women at bus stops early in the morning, 6 o'clock, and he would always tell them things like, oh, I have a big gun here, I'll blow your head off. Now I want you to lay down on the ground, and then he would rape them. And when he was done, he would say, I want you to count to 100 and I'm going to leave. Well, one bank teller didn't want to play that. She hit him right in the nose. He stood back. He said, I'll kill you. Well, that's exactly what you're going to have to do, because it's the only way you're going to get it. And she hit him again. Now what? This is not good to him. This is not part of the fantasy. He's a freak. This is not what she's supposed to do. You know, he's lost all interest in this. And he simply said, well, if you lay down, I'll leave. Well, this girl was obnoxious. She wasn't even going to lay down properly. And while he counted to 100, she lay down for just a few seconds, and she popped her head up and saw him get into a white van and drive away. So now it's the day of the Super Bowl, and I'm at home, and I've got my Super Bowl brownies, and I'm tuned up to watch the Super Bowl when they call me at home. And they say, hey, one of your victims is down at the laundromat, and the guy who raped her is down there with another woman and doing his laundry. Send a uniform card down there. We hold a lineup that night. We go out to the man's house. We find the van. We find a Green Army jacket, which all the women said he wore a Green Army jacket. There's a Ruger 357 Magnum Black Hawk in the glove box, and that's a big gun. And we hold this lineup, and women are picking him out by voice. They're picking him out by the way he looked, the whole shot. Do we have the right man? Yes, we do. And we got a serial rapist off the street. But now what if this woman had hit the first fellow I told you about who liked to fight? He'd have probably beat her to death. So I'm not ever going to stand up here and tell you what you ought to do. You've got to look at your own physical skills, your own training, and how important is it to you to not let this happen to you. Being raped's a terrible thing, but I've seen women who have been able to stand back, and one woman, bless her heart, I know she was upset, but she said, "Detective," she says, "you know, cooperate with you any way I can." But she said, "Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and I got a house full of company coming, and I've got 3 kids, and can we wrap this up so I can get home? Because I got to get this thing going, you know." I understand. I had 2 women totally lost their lives. I mean, mentally, they just never were the same. Now, that's out of 3,500 rape cases. You're probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. So it's up to you to make that determination. But I'm going to say this to you. If you elect to fight, it's not the Olympics. It's not a boxing match. There's no rules. What do you want to do? Win. You want to live. And by winning, that's what I mean. It's not a matter. You're not going to have Sensei Reneau standing there counting points. Hey, nice jab, good kick. Oh, good block. You get away. You live. And never give up. I'll never forget a police officer friend of mine and my wife's was shot. And in the ambulance, when they were taking him down to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, the medics said, which they should not have done, "He'll never make it. We've lost him." And he's laying there, and he told me, he said, "I got so damn mad." I said, "Well, how dare them say I'm not going to make it?" Well, he lived. He said, "I made my mind up right then. I'm going to live." So if you elect to fight back, don't you give up. Don't you give up until the good Lord decides to take you home. One other thing I would like to mention to you. Be prepared to be hurt. You cannot get in a fight with somebody that's probably bigger and stronger than you and probably not get hurt a little bit. One of my favorite athletes was Muhammad Ali, and I remember reading one of his biographies, and he said in there, he said, "It may have looked easy." He said, "I never fought any world-class fighter that I didn't get hurt." So you're probably going to get hurt a little bit. That's okay, isn't it? You hurt him more. Whatever it takes. I kept mentioning to you that if you think it is not a police officer behind you, and I kept suggesting be sure to drive to a well-lit area after turning on the dome light, I'd also like to say, even better, go to a populated area where there's somebody else there to witness it in case there is any hanky-panky. And I can assure you, if it's not a police officer, they're not going to follow you. They're not going to want anything to do with that. I was talking to you about fighting, that if you elect to fight, there's no rules, etc. You win if you live. I think that is the most important thing. You may not look pretty doing it. The fellow who came into the bank that fought me for my gun, I know if I saw that on videotape, it didn't look pretty. But I went home to my family, and he went to jail. I won. I took some shots. I didn't look good doing it. Sensei Reneau would have flunked me possibly, in sparring that day, but I went home. I won. Now, very quickly, something else. I'm always asked about firearms. Should I carry a firearm? I carry one all the time. And I think every honest person who will go through the training, learn how to use one. I mean, you wouldn't get on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle and just take off without someone giving you a little bit of training in it. So if you learn how to use it, learn your laws, and learn when you can use it, I'm all for a firearm. One big question, though, and think about it. A gun will do you no good if you will not use it. And I've had people say, well, I carry one, but I could never shoot somebody. Then you don't need a gun. Don't even think along that route. Because all you've done is probably hand a thug a firearm. They'll take that gun away from you and beat you like a yard dog if you're not willing to use that gun. So keep that in mind. Well, ladies, I've enjoyed it very much, and now I think you've got a real treat coming, because one of the master martial artists in the United States is going to come up here and give you a few self-defense tips. Sensei Jim Reneau.
One more time, if y'all enjoyed that, give Gary Barnes a big hand. I want to cover just a couple more real quick, what I call street smart self-defense tips before we go into the actual physical part of the martial arts. We're going to cover what I call personal awareness, things to avoid situations in hopes that you never get to the physical part of having to confront an attacker. We're going to start with leaving an office building, leaving a job, a movie theater, whatever. If at all possible, always try and get someone to go with you. Even if, well, I got Renee Stowers, who's a second-degree black belt in martial arts, real good in self-defense. I've actually had other guys that had no experience, she could probably kill in a real fight, walk out with her. What that does is help avoid the situation. By walking out, they see someone else with her, they leave her alone. Walking out the door, first thing she does, looks around, looks left, looks right, looks to see who's in the area. Another thing, grab your car keys. Your car keys, she'll take the ignition key and put it in between her thumb and finger, and then she'll take the other keys, makes for great brass knuckles. Okay? Ladies, this is a great weapon. You can use it either for punching if you're good at it, or use it for raking across the eyes, face, to get it to avoid an attacker. Thank you. Walk confidently towards your car. A person that has confidence is not likely to be a target. If you're walking this way, or if you're going this way, this is the one that people are going to look at and go, I can get that one. Because one of the first things that an attacker wants, and I believe Mr. Barnes will agree with this, is a victim who's not going to talk. They don't want to be told on. They don't necessarily want to go to jail. Of course, there's a few of those out there. But they're wanting to avoid any conflict. They want what they want. They don't want any outside help. Okay? So be confident about yourself. You're less likely to be targeted. Something I heard just the other day. Your car. If you have a potential rapist looking for a potential victim, they might look in a car. They see a car, nothing but female products and stuff inside it, and girl things hanging on the mirror and everything. Well, they go, well, I may hang around and see who comes to this car. This police officer told me, he said, throw a baseball glove in the back of it and a can of Skull on the front. I don't know that many women chew Skull. But by doing that, less likely for your car to look like, there might be a guy accompanying you. When you're walking to your vehicle, when you walk around corners, don't walk near a corner, walk a little wide of it. By walking wide, you can see someone who might be standing on the outside edge of it, ready to reach over and grab you. Same with your car. Don't approach right up to the edge of your car and turn the corner. You might have someone just kneeling behind it because they watched you pull up to the parking spot earlier. Walk out wide, look down by your car, look underneath your car as you approach it. As you approach your car, especially if you have locks on top, see if your car's still locked. As you get closer, immediately look in the back and the front of your car before you get in it. Okay? Real quick, real easy self-defense tips to follow. Now we're going to go into the physical side. There's 1,000 other things that you can do to avoid situations. What I always tell everyone, the number one self-defense is to run. Avoid it if all possible. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Maybe you have kids at home and you've got a burglar who's broken your home. They're in your bedroom and they're attacking you. You may not be able to just run because you got your 4-year-old girl in the next room. Now you're going to have to try and stop this person. So there's a time and a place for all types of self-defense, including trying to completely stop your attacker from continuing any further assaults, which gets into taking eyes or whatever you have to do to survive and to protect your family. I want to start with a couple. If I can get, I'll back up just a little bit. I'm going to show some real easy self-defense techniques, and then we're going to start into groups. We're going to start with where the head goes, the body follows. May I borrow you, ma'am? Leave the keys there. I don't want you gouging me because I'm going to be the bad guy for 1 second. All right. Where the head goes, the body follows. There's 1,000 self-defense techniques you can do, and the more time you spend in a good martial arts school, the more that works on self-defense, and that means hands-on, someone grabbing you, how to take a person down, controlling them, the better you're going to be. However, if you're only going to watch this video one time, I want you to be able to take things that we do in here and still be able to protect yourself. So we're going to do some real easy self-defense techniques that if you just follow the basics, practice them, get a husband, a boyfriend, next door neighbor, whoever you can get that you trust, to practice the techniques with you, then it'll definitely help you and something you can use if it ever happens in real life. This first one's real easy. The reason it's real easy because it happens from a choke, hair, someone trying to kiss, grab. It's where the head goes, the body follows. Forget everything else. Be nice to me. No, you ain't got to be nice to me. She's got an eye. No one's got strong eyes. She's grabbing the back of the head. And go. Okay? As I remember, you got microphones in the back and kill my back. Which is all right. Now, where the head goes, the body follows, again, can also be used, if you would, lie head down on this side.
Head down.
Mm-hmm. On your back. You got an attacker coming out here, the same exact principle. Where the head goes, body follows. Okay? Now on any of these, you can choose to stay and hold, or if you need to make an escape, come back in, quick, any type of quick follow-up technique, and take off and run. My first advice is always to avoid the situation. If someone grabs you, you take them down, take off and run. When you take off and run, think about being able to get away from them, though. If you just turn somebody over, they're going to get up and chase you. Follow up, quick strike to a vital area, head, throat, groin, whatever you can do. That's another thing. I want to cover that real quick before we go into self-defense. I hear this. Well, if somebody attacks me, I'm just going to knee them in the groin. I hear that all the time. I say, man, why don't you come in and take a karate class? Well, someone attacks me. What's going to happen is you're going to really make that person mad. They're going to want to kill you after that. Okay? A strike to the groin, though, does loosen the person up. If they've grabbed you really hard and they're pulling in a quick groin strike, and then going where the head goes, body follows. Good, 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 good. She likes this job. Okay? Is effective, but it's more of a loosening up technique. Don't think of that as your primary self-defense. Another one that you can cover in close. This one, thumbs to the eyes. She's placing her hands on each side, and with the palm, I'm going to let you relax 1 second so you can see this. If you just grab the head like you're caressing the cheek, palm on the cheek, it fits perfect every time. Thumb, bent in underneath the eye. Okay? On each side. Now, if she pushes on my face, go ahead, push, I'm going to back up. So she did make me get away, but she hasn't hurt me. If you want to hurt someone like this, one hand behind, one hand in. Or if they're against a wall or a floor. Now, this is a self-defense technique you don't want to do in what I call a classical date rape situation. This is something you want to do if you're in severe trouble. You need to get them away. Date rape being more of a casual. Person's not, you want to show some self-defense and stop them, and maybe the first time, back them off you. Get away, I don't want you touching me. Now they keep coming, well then you have to take it to the level you need to take that situation to stop them. If you have to take it that level, you can take it to that level. But most of the time in your date rapes, it's someone you generally like, you just weren't ready to go that far in the situation. Everything that we do, we want you to protect yourself, and you can stop the person to the extent that you want to stop them. When they continue going farther, if you have to go farther, you can go farther. So the two techniques I want you to do is we're going to get you a partner. You're going to do the under the eye, grabbing the head, and you're going to do the basic takedown with the head both standing and on the ground. You can also do the same thing on a wall. Again, grab the back of the head, grab a handful of hair. If they don't have hair, grab an ear. Okay? Finger to the eyes. Okay? Don't put your hand out here and practice here. If you practice here, this is what you're going to do in real life. If she's pulling now on my hair and pushing, I can resist that. The next one of the strongest muscles there is. Finger to the eye. I can't resist now. Good, good. Okay? You like that too much. That's great. All right. Grab a partner and try it. Us. Good. Now that's a good control. Now I want to see you do one with an escape too. Get away from them. Good. Now as you come out, you're in a real good spot. Quick groin strike. Boom. Take off and run. Excellent. Do it one more time. Okay, and everyone take a second. Now there's 101 ways to make each of these techniques even better and stronger. Roy Sensei and I were just talking about taking your hip and placing it. I'll tell you what, lay down here. Why don't you get with Karen here. Lay down on head this way. All right, now besides just adding where the head goes, reaching out, grabbing, also taking this hip, leg pulled in, and pushing up on the hip at the same time. You get just a little more throw. On the basic takedown, come back to the very beginning. Standing up, stepping through adds a little more leverage to the same motion. Where the head goes, the body follows. Taking the head and turning. These are all little things that you can do to make the techniques even better. And they're things that you can use if you practice a lot. But to start with, just remember, grab the head, twist and turn, take them down. Learn that much today and then add more. If you want to learn more of the advanced self-defense, get our advanced self-defense tape and practice all those techniques thousands and thousands of times, and you can get to where you can handle any situation, anytime. I highly advise doing it, but for right now, basics, real easy things you can do to get away. Now we're going to start with another one. Let me get Sensei Stowers back here. Face this way. We're going to start with someone coming in. We'll start with a basic grab and then we'll work our way into a quick choke. But for right here, all you're going to do is just think about taking your head, going underneath, twisting under, and leaving. Now, again, anytime you leave, you want to make sure your attacker doesn't follow you. So this time she might add either a groin or a quick kick to the back of the knee. All right? We're going to do this one, and then we're also going to do from a rear choke. Someone grabbing this way, grabbing the quick strike to the groin or fingers to the eyes. Okay? Grabbing the hand and then dropping your shoulder here and stepping under. This one's a little more difficult to do until you practice once or twice. A quick follow-up, taking them off balance and leaving. All right, so those are the next two I want you to practice. Person grabbing from the back side. Keep in mind on this one, it's a real small circle. Right here, I'm crossing my wrist, making it difficult to hold. If she takes a big circle, do it incorrect now. She takes a big circle, I'm just following her around. Okay, small circle. Quick shot to the back of the leg and leave. All right. Try it with your partner and go. Okay, look, come back to that same spot. Now, as you duck under, watch. When I do it from here, duck under, boom. Add that real quick strike to the groin. As you step up, and then drive his knee all the way to the ground.
Okay.
Okay? Under. Close. Do it again. Do it slow this time. Step under. Now, right here, this hand, quick strike. It's there for you. Now, step in, one step, drive it all the way to the ground. Boom. Then if you want to pull them off balance, take off and gun. Good. Quick groin strike. Step under. Boom. There you go.
Go ahead, kick it.
Keep in mind when you're practicing these techniques, in order to do it, you probably need to go through this tape 2, 3, 4 times and practice it with a partner. What we're going to do now is we're going to continue going to several so you can see many that you can do, but I highly advise practicing each one maybe 10, 15 times. And then going back over the video every 3, 4 months so that you can keep it fresh in your mind. Let me get my partner again. A couple of real easy self-defense techniques. From here, someone grabbing you. Instead of going against fingers or hands, she's going to look where the thumb is. Reach out, grabbing her own hand for just reach out and lever it. Grab her really hard. Someone grab real hard, grab your own hand, pull, and run. Now, again, anytime doing an escape, you want to add a self-defense to where you can keep them from following you. So she might add a side kick as she pulls. Go ahead and do it. And go. All right, that's single hand. All you do, if they grab you differently, look where the thumb is. Pull down. Go ahead and pull down.
Let me do that.
Either way. Go. Okay. If the person doesn't let go, keep in mind that loosening up technique. Quick strike to the groin, strike to the eyes, finger right to the face, and then grab your hand and take off. Boom. Two-hand grab. A little more difficult. To start with a hand, it's actually easier. All you do in this case is just go underneath an arm and go. It's a real quick move. Again, when you do it in slow motion, change sides so you can see it on the camera here. It goes under, she's pulling against the thumbs on both sides. So we'll do single hand, double hand, and then you can also do a two-hand grab. Just look where the thumbs are, pull against the thumbs. All right, try all of those real quick and we'll move to the next section. All right, thank you. All right, you want to look where the weakest part, which is bigger, your arm or his thumb?
My arm?
Your arm. So that's all you're going to do. Wherever the that is, reach across, grab the hand, pull against the thumb. Boom. No, don't twist against the fingers. See, as you brought up, you were going against the fingers. There's the thumb right there. Go that way. Boom. There you go. Makes it a lot easier, don't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, and stop for a second. Look up. I just had a question that I want to answer, and this is probably, and Mr. Barnes covered it a little earlier, but it's probably the most important question of all. When do I fight? One of the things that has happened is an attacker coming up, they have a gun, knife, whatever, and they say, don't say anything, go out here, get in the car, shut up. Why? Because I'm going to take you out and kill you. Well, darn. You're going to take me somewhere by myself and kill me, you're going to have to try it now. Because they don't want witnesses. Don't wait until you're taken to an isolated area. The best choice, and again, you have to make the decision at the time. If you honestly feel that this person's wanting you to go with them and that you're going to live and you're going to be fine, and you think that's the safest way to do it, then if you live, you made the right choice. All right? But 99% of the time, if you can get away and avoid going to an isolated spot, you're going to be better off. Any choice of fighting is so much as fighting could just simply mean hollering and screaming you're not going. Could avoid you from becoming a victim. Person's walking up telling you, get in your car, you're going with me, and you feel that this person's the type person's going to wind up killing you anyway, time to fight's there, because odds are they're not going to pull the trigger, because when they pull the trigger there's going to be a lot of noise and there's people around, or they wouldn't have taken you somewhere by themselves. There's a better chance that they're going to take off running than actually shooting you. But again, each situation is different, and you've got to make that decision. You've got to be the one to decide at that time, yes, I need to go ahead and fight now, or no, I'm ready to make my stand, and I'm going to protect myself at this time. Before we wrap up, the first one is loosening up techniques. You heard me mention that a couple of times. What I mean by loosening up techniques would be if a person grabs you, something to distract him from the grab. Normally an attacker is bigger than you. So I may not be able to just grab and pull against the thumb if he's a whole lot stronger. So what I'll do is make a quick strike to the eyes, grabbing the hand. Quick strike to the groin or knee to the groin, then pull. You'll also, after that, if he's going to attack me, his main asset is his legs. So if at all possible, on whatever technique that I use, if I come up, if I take his leg out from under him, it's a lot more difficult for him to chase me. When I kicked the leg, I drove it all the way to the ground. Don't necessarily just kick at the leg and keep going. Go ahead and kick and drive it. Boom. Then from there, you can go ahead and hold on to him as you take off and run. It's even harder for him to get up if you didn't damage the leg. Thank you, sir. Any other comments on that area?
They can't run, they can't chase you.
Can't run, can't chase you. Another thing, when you're practicing with your partner at home, practicing here, what will happen is if, let me borrow you again. If I grab her this way, okay, get out of it, and we practice this every day, she's going to be really good at it. I'll be able to walk up to her in the middle of the living room and go, boy, you're good. And then in real life, if somebody grabs her, she's going to panic because she's never been grabbed really hard. So grab them as hard as you can without hurting your partner. What I suggest is starting lightly, then start harder, and then harder, until you're able to grab them as hard as you can without choking them or actually damaging them, so that they can learn to defend themselves in a manner that will be closer to a real life situation. I had a comment about the eyes earlier. When I go in and I'm going to the eyes here, if this person's assaulting me and I'm protecting my family and I think I might die and he's giving me his eye, I'm going to keep it. What I mean by that is I want to take this and I'm sliding right underneath the bone. I always aim just a little low because my finger can slide up. If I aim high and he ducks, it's real hard to get to. So I aim a little below the eye and then I slide into it. Now from here, my thumb makes a beautiful scoop. This is real scary. It's like when Mr. Barnes was talking about, will I actually use that gun and shoot him if I have to? You've got to make the decision. Is it worth your life to ruin this man's sight for the rest of his life? And if he's doing something that is worth it to you, by all means, come in, take, drive in, pull the thumb up. You can come straight back. Other vital spots, quickly, throat, each side of the throat, push in, squeeze. Groin, when you go to hit the groin, if you go, it's not a hit. I want to hit you on this is, if I was striking groin, I want to hit and squeeze. Aren't you glad I did it there?
Right.
Okay. I want to hit, squeeze, twist, strike to the eye, kick to the leg, and then go, you want me to let go?
Please, sir.
It's not being a polite thing. I'm not going, oh, don't hurt me. Because what's going to happen, I'm just going to make them mad. Slap, squeeze, twist, and pull. When you're dealing in sex crimes, sometimes you have to say and do things that are a little uncomfortable. You heard Mr. Barnes talking about if you have to, fellatio, biting. It's a great self-defense technique. He doesn't want to chase me after that. But you got to also be prepared to quickly get away. If you do any type of violent attack or assault on the person, you've now taken this person who was already an aggressive individual to start with and heighten that aggression. You've got to be ready to deal with that. So if I take an eye, I rake across the other eye, I'm now running. I'm not going to sit and find out if he's blind. He may not be. Same with the groin strikes, same with the knee strikes. Anytime you escalate your violence out there and you can take that until a chance to escape. If you have to stay because you're protecting your loved ones, well then you keep driving until the person stops. All right. I hope everyone enjoyed the seminar and took something home from it today. Thank you, sir. If you want to get better with your self-defense, by all means, get the advanced self-defense tape that we're working on. There's also a great one on knife gun self-defense, which we didn't cover. There's 1,000 situations you can come across there, and with the knife and gun, generally if a person's a sexual assailant, they're going to have to be able to make contact with you. If they're close enough, again, to where they've got a knife on you here or a gun here or something like this, and they're trying to do whatever they want to do, then there's a lot of self-defense opportunities that become available to you, and we'll cover those in those tapes. Before I finish, do I have any other questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Barn, what I've been exposed about several years ago about the equal force, the law in the Georgia, state of Georgia, that if person with a knife, you can probably counterattack with a knife, and if person has a gun, you can only counterattack with a gun, and you cannot go beyond. And somehow, at that point, my understanding that if you practice martial law, you already have one level above normal people. So if a person, brings something like that, have you heard about it?
I have heard people discuss that, but my understanding with Georgia law, if I was to come at you with a knife, and that is deadly force, I could kill you with a knife, you can use a baseball bat, the martial arts skills, or a firearm, anything you need to do to protect yourself.
Okay.
Now, again, if I throw that knife down and the threat's over with, then you can no longer beat me in the head with that ball bat or whatnot. It's over and done with. But as long as I'm trying to cut you with that knife, you do what you have to do to save your life. You don't have to go out in the car and say, let me get a knife so we can make this equal. It's not a sporting contest.
All right. Thank you.
Be sure not to miss former world weapons champion Derek Pendergrass in the advanced competition bow tape. There's also a wide range of tapes available to help you become a better martial artist, such as Anatomically Correct Martial Arts by Sensei Stephen Arroyo, Knife and Gun Self-Defense by Jim Reneau, and many more. For more information, please contact your local distributor.